Songpond TV.
Hi and welcome to Songpond TV. This is the fourth episode for Songpond TV. Okay, my name's Ben Edwards and today I'm going to take you through three different types of string or palm muting or deadening as been requested by you guys, which I'm about to tell you. Don't forget to have your say either right now or at the end of this episode. To do that, you're going to need to go to songpond.tv. Now that's a web address, songpond.tv. Go to the Have Your Say part of that page where you are able to let me know what it is you want to see in the upcoming episodes. We are getting tons of emails from wonderful viewers like yourselves that are letting me know lots of great ideas that you want to see coming up. And today we're going to quickly cover three of those ideas. All right. Today's tip, though, which is proudly brought to you by songpond.com, which is another website which is an excellent and fun new way to learn your favourite songs. Today's tip, it's a really simple, straightforward, obvious one. This isn't a playing tip. It's just something for you to actually go out and get yourselves if you've got a guitar at home already. A guitar hard case. Now, sometimes guitars, when you buy them from a store or you may buy them secondhand, they may come with a case, maybe a hard case. I recommend, particularly if you're starting to get a little more serious with your guitar playing now, you may be taking your guitar to shows or to a friend's house for a jam or a play along, or even maybe taking your guitar to the shop to be tweaked or fixed or whatever you need, whatever it is that you're doing with your guitar. If you're taking it anywhere other than one particular room, get yourself a hard case. Now these days you can actually buy them very cheaply and they are well worth every single penny that you spend on the case. It'll keep your instrument safe and looking its best in its top operating condition. All right, simple tip. If you haven't got one, go down and have a look at hard cases that will fit your particular guitar to keep it safe. Okay, straight into today's lesson, which is on string and palm deadening. I'm going to grab the guitar and see you very soon. Don't forget to have your say and let me know what you want to see coming up in the next episodes. See you shortly. Okay, so as I mentioned very quickly at the start of today's episode, we're going to look at, I've had a lot of requests for palm deadening, palm muting, and string deadening as separate requests. Now, I've actually lumped those three particular techniques into one quick brief flyover for you guys to have a look at this. Okay, palm deadening, quite simply the technique is, as I strum, rather than keeping my hand off the strings, at certain points, I actually rest my hand back on the strings to deaden or mute the strings from ringing between chords or between strums. Now, that may sound crazy. Why would you want to deaden or stop the strings from ringing? The whole point is to make noise. Well, that was definitely something that you consider or think when you're first starting with the guitar. But deadening or softening or dampening or muting the strings helps create a dynamic within the piece. Let me play the same chord progression that I just played now, but I'll use a deadening in between the strums, and you'll hear how tighter and how much more punchy or how much more dynamic the same progression is. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that was fairly quick, and for beginners, you may not be at a point where you're playing that quick, but the technique is that even if you're playing a slow rhythm on an open chord, say an A major open chord, here I've got no palm deadening happening. It's just ringing out. You can chuck palm deadening in any point. Palm deadening just helps give a bit more momentum and dynamic and bounce. Okay, very quickly wanted to fly over that technique. I'm going to go straight into the next one, which is the second technique, which is string deadening. Okay, string deadening, as I was saying earlier, is utilised by the fretting hand. Normally when we strike a chord, for example, I've got a G major root 6 bar chord here. This is just for example. I'm pushing down hard with my fingers against the frets. That's how you're taught, and you're taught to let it ring out and push down hard. If you don't push down hard enough, this happens to every single beginner, this has what happens is the sound, you get this crazy yucky sort of a muted sound. And some strings ring out and some don't. Okay, basically we're taking that technique where when your fingers are down firm on the strings against the frets, rings out nice and loud. When they're off, when they're not pushing down as hard, it doesn't ring. So if I strike the strings with my fingers pushing down hard, you can't see the back of the guitar neck, but my thumb again's pushing in against the back of the neck. My fingers on the front are pushing in from the front to make sure that it's nice and strong, like we do with all the chords. Ringing. If you just release that pressure but keep the hand in position, it just stops ringing. Much like the same sort of technique or sound that we had with palm deadening, where we'd strum and I'd place my strum hand back on the strings. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, string deadening and palm deadening often happen hand in hand, and this can really accentuate the deadening factor. So if I struck the chord, and at the same time I lift it off with my fingers, the pressure on the strings, I use my palm deadening technique, it's almost an instantaneous stop. There's no ring. The only ring that's left in the room is the resonance of the room and the resonance of the guitar body. That's for a really great staccato or sudden stop in the playing. Simple. It's such a simple technique, but again, if you don't know about it, then you're probably not doing it. So there's two: palm deadening, string deadening, and number 3, palm muting. So we're going to swap back again now and have a look at my strumming hand for palm muting. Which is palm muting and palm deadening are slightly, again, very closely related, but slightly different to each other. Palm muting, I would say, is a more of an intermediate to advanced skill level. However, beginners, I definitely recommend that you give this a go, because again, it's a killer, great sound that you hear a lot, particularly in rock music these days, but again, also in a lot of acoustic playing. Okay, palm muting is when we're still strumming the strings, but rather than strumming the strings full without touching, we're actually resting our palm on the strings, usually about 1 inch or 2 inches in from the bridge. We can still actually strum the strings and strike the strings and get a sound out of the strings. We're not pushing so hard that it makes no sound. The hand, or the heel, which is this part of my hand, is rested lightly against the strings so that I can still actually strike and get a sort of a muted or a really deadened sound, but doesn't stop it ringing completely. This particular technique works in absolute perfect conjunction with last week's TV episode in power chords. Power chords, as you remember, if you haven't seen that episode yet, go back and watch episode 3. Power chords are made just usually hitting 2 or 3 strings at a time. If, for example, I play a G major power chord based on last week's lesson, this is with no palm muting or palm deadening, just the top 3 strings, all downstrokes, down, down, down. The minute I put palm deadening, which is the very first technique, 1, 2, 3 on, we'll deaden. That's palm deadening. Palm muting, we're going to strike 1, 2, 3, but with our palm rested against the strings. You can hear the big difference in actual tone and sound between those two things. So subtly, you've got palm deadening. There is a subtle difference, but it is a big difference in terms of dynamic. So simple. If you're not doing it already, give it a go. Rest the heel of your hand or of your palm about 1 inch or 2 inches in from the bridge of your guitar so that you can still strike the strings. And this becomes more of a wrist movement. Palm muting. All right, that's it for today's Songpond TV lesson. 3 ways to teach you how to deaden or mute your strings. If for some reason you'd like me to break either one of those down in more specific detail, I just wanted to fly by it today, do let me know. Have your say via the Songpond.tv webpage, and I can break either one of those down into much more detail, and we can have a full lesson on that. I just wanted to touch those 3 because I have been asked about those 3 and quite a lot of people have been writing about them. Okay, take care, keep up the good practice. I'll see you again in 2 more weeks for another episode.
SPTV. Proudly brought to you by Songpond.com, where you learn to play your favorite songs.